Cool. Yo, this is Erick The Architect. You're not listening to Cabbages with these two amazing guys. Shout out to anybody listening to this right now with a love for music and movies.
What are we gonna talk about for the intro?
We said we had like
Maybe this bong cover.
no.
Maybe it'll help. Listen, there's only one way to try, and that's to try to try.
Try. Guys, welcome to another episode of Cabbages. We are thrilled to offer you entirely
We've
unscripted
been tough
dialogue.
weeks, Gary. All right.
It's been hard. It's been
It's been a wild week.
a lot's going on in our lives.
Fast and Furious 6 was my only salvation. This is it.
And as Jeff knows, I have prior to this had never seen a Fast and Furious movie save for Hobbs and Shaw. And that was deliberate. I was like being obstinate in the same way that I've never seen
I was the same way until the pandemic.
I'd never seen a Lord of the Rings. Like a lot of things that people like, I have not seen. And it's like explains why I do a podcast that is full of terrible movies often.
Yeah.
Because like things that people like, I go, oh no, I'm not going to watch that. So
You're not a big fan of the national conversation.
But the thing is, you are a big fan of these movies.
Yeah.
You've seen all the Fast and Furious films.
I am. I fretted doing this for a couple of reasons. One, these movies aren't made for people just to jump in the middle. Like if you're jumping in past 4, it's really not going to make any sense. And even then, there's only a couple of opportunities to go forward and it makes sense. Yeah, and the other thing is, what if he hates it and he just rags on me the whole time and he tries to ruin my favorite movie? Now, those thoughts aside, I came to a conclusion. You can't really ruin this for me. I truly am all in on these horrible, asinine films. I just think it's like a zen for me, where I just go in and I'm totally invested in the idiocy. Like watching The Young and the Restless.
I'm such a big fan of dumb action movies. And
I really thought you would enjoy this, but it's hard to enjoy. I understand.
I watch these dumb action movies all the time, and I have my favorites and I have things that I like. And it's sort of like I recognize to walk into a franchise that has as long of an arc as this one has,
right,
and a history and an ensemble cast. It's hard. Like I could turn on some of these superhero movies, some of these comic book movies, and get dropped in it and be able to say, I haven't read the comic book. I don't know anything about it, but you know what?
Sure.
I'm just going to go with it. And they make these films in a way that like even somebody who isn't
that's really
who doesn't know the lore
about these.
But with this film,
because there is an investment. Like those of us who have
backstory.
stuck it out for 10 and are still enjoying ourselves. And there's been many of our comrades who have fallen, who are just like, yo, after 6, I just am like, I don't care about these people anymore. Or 9 has gotten a fair amount of criticism for just being like, some of this is phoned in. But for those of us still on the ride, it's really fun. It's like the most fun I have going to the movies. There was a point in the new one where something very pivotal happens. And led by yours truly, a great number of us booed because we don't like that character. We're like,
okay,
no more, no. And like a bunch of people joined in with me. Thought that was awesome.
What's going to be interesting is to see if our guest is where he falls within the spectrum of me vaguely familiar with these films.
I'll tell
and having
you, if he's seen any of them, he'll probably like it. If he hasn't seen any of them, he probably won't like it.
Well, we know he's seen at least one, and it's Fast and Furious 6. So we've got a great guest. Erick The Architect, Flatbush Zombies is here. We're so excited to have him on. Let's get to it. Let's figure out where we fall within this spectrum of oddness and absurdity.
Let's roll.
I am so excited to introduce our guest for today's show. Joining us now is the one and only Erick the Architect, a core member of Flatbush Zombies and the Beast Coast Collective. He's about to drop a solo album entitled I've Never Been Here Before. It's got features from everyone from Joey Badass to George Clinton. It's available starting February 23rd, wherever music is streamed or sold, so make sure you grab that. Erick is also about to head out on an international tour starting this March, and you can find all those dates in the show notes. Erick, hello and welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, man. It's exciting
thanks
to have
for being
you
here.
Obviously, we're fans. And so, we had to figure out what kind of movie we should do to have a guest like you on this. And, we did a whole season of stoner episodes and just watch stoner movies. And we've done that before. So we're like, we could do that. And we ended up with Fast and Furious 6.
You chose wisely.
Before we get too into this, and before I point out what Jeff is wearing, let's just start with the basics. As someone who watches movies, what sort of stuff do you typically enjoy? What's the kind of thing you reach for, you go to see?
It's probably easier to say what my faves are, right? Because then you can kind of whittle it down. You got The Matrix, Commando, Predator, American History X. There Will Be Blood. Damn.
So lighthearted comedies mostly.
Bloodsport. Yeah. Yeah. Bloodsport.
Just having a good time. Whatever.
Yeah, I like
serious. Who cares?
Alien.
Oh, Alien, man. An absolute classic.
Those kind of timeless movies that are I don't know how to describe them. They, no matter how many times you see them, they continue to have the same effect on you. It's not like you get drowned out by listening to it for the 80th time. Like Friday and Baby Boy. I've seen those movies so many times. I can't watch with any person. They'll be like, yo, you know everything. Shut the fuck up.
I have seen Friday. I've seen Friday maybe more than I have been alive for Fridays.
Yeah.
I may have seen it more than the amount of Fridays that I've lived through as an adult, at least.
There's a period of time, I think, in the 2000s when I had a day job and I had a check coming in every Friday, and I would just go to Best Buy and I would just buy DVDs. And there were certain films that just became part of that. Friday is absolutely one of those. But I was a huge fan of a lot of the films you've just mentioned. The Aliens films were some of my favorite. That whole series I've loved. I was definitely a big fan of action films. And so I wasn't exactly, familiar with the Fast and Furious series, because I haven't seen any of these films until this one. This is the first of the Fast
I'm almost in the same boat as you. Just about.
Okay. I was going to ask kind of where you stand with that, because
so I'm the resident expert here.
You're the expert. Yeah.
Okay.
You've
seen everything.
I saw 10 and I fell asleep. Which is hard to fall asleep during a Fast and Furious movie, but I did.
I'll tell you this. If you're starting at 10, you're missing approximately 25 hours of lore. And I can't, other than the explosions, I can't imagine a world where you're like, yeah, this makes perfect sense. All of this makes sense.
There's one with Bow Wow, right? There's a
yeah. There's a ton of if we really wanted to, this is the Ludacris episode, and we'll get into Ludacris.
Technically, it's a Ludacris episode.
Okay.
It is. But that said, you could do a number of rappers through, we could do at least 2 more episodes just based on other rappers that are in the films.
Okay.
And each soundtrack has a fair amount of rap on it. These movies definitely target rap and rappers as something to bring you in, to draw you in.
The core audience.
For sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Well, we've got other plans for Bow Wow, so don't worry about that. That will happen for us at some stage.
Do we?
Oh yeah. It's on deck.
Wait, are we watching Like Mike? I don't know if I can do that.
I saw Like Mike at a drive-in movie theater. I saw it in a drive-in movie theater. It was I'm going to kid you not. It was Like Mike. And
of course you're going to kid me now. You were 25.
Like Mike, and then it was double feature. The other one was M. Night Shyamalan's Signs.
When did that come out? Were we kids?
It was they were early 20s. I'd probably say it was probably in their early to mid 2000s.
Signs was
a movie.
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
I I don't like any of his movies besides
Mhm.
Sixth Sense. So Signs was really, I mean, spoiler alert, when you actually see the thing, it's like at the party, like the kids'
Yeah.
party. I was like, what is this shit? It wasn't even scary. It was just like weird. Like it
I
was not a
still
good
like
weird.
I leave
Knowing
water.
is a better movie than Signs, and
Don't
Gary
talk about
will
knowing.
understand what
No,
I'm
no, we're not
talking
talking about
about.
knowing. We're not talking about knowing. No. We
We
already did that
can
episode.
though. We
That's
can
another
just for a
episode.
second.
We
Just
did
for a
that
second.
episode. We did that
Just
episode.
for a second though.
Move on. We move on from
You're
that.
definitely
We
ready
move
to
on from
talk
that.
about Fast and Furious 6. I can tell.
No,
By
but I think it's probably worthwhile that like when we talk about how this film sort of has an audience that's definitely targeting hip hop fans in terms of
Yeah.
soundtrack and terms of people who've been in it. Obviously, Ludacris has been in this since the third movie, and is he's been in it more than other than the people who started the film, who were in the first ones. He's been in it more than any of those people, and
absolutely.
Wow.
and so it's really something to see, like kind of how this goes. I'm curious, just as we approach this, what's sort of your experience with Ludacris as a listener to his music, as somebody who's seen him on screen? Sort of like, what is your impression of kind of Ludacris as a rapper and an actor?
Ludacris is the man. I think when What's Your Fantasy came out, I was in seventh grade. And yeah, word of mouth. Um, I mean, he has. I feel like he might be underrated. I think the acting probably made people forget how dope of a rapper he is because he's so successful as an actor. I think depending on how old you are, you probably only know him as an actor. Um, but for me, Ludacris was like one of the. I'm from New York, you know what I'm saying? We don't really growing up. We didn't fuck with nothing from the South, really. Like it took a while for that to really like make sense to us. The only people we really liked was like Outkast, you know, or like a Scarface. Anybody that took would say like a style from New York, which I feel like we we're more lyrically driven in music. I feel like somebody like Ludacris I remember when he did Child of the Night. There was Child of the Night. He had so many really good records where he was rapping about basically that people sleep on him because he's from the South. And I thought that to me, you know, like a Wayne or something like that, that became a lot more popular later on to rap from a different region and be like, yo, like I'm like a real rapper. Like just because I'm not from New York, don't make me like a not spitter or whatever. And I feel like he's one of the earliest people that I heard say, like, I don't care where I'm from, like I'm gonna put on for you know, for Atlanta. Like I'm not from the South. Because I'm from the South doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? And I respect him. Some of my favorite music videos come from him. I feel like he added a nuance of humor to hip hop music that was well needed as a kid because a lot of the idols had a really like hard image and shit. And he took it, not that shit wasn't hard, but he made it so it was okay to be cool and funny too, and didn't have to be so serious. So yeah, I would say he's definitely underrated. He's a GOAT for sure in his own right.
Yeah, I grew up in Queens and still live in Queens. So I sort of like have this mentality that you describe where it's like there's a resistance that kind of exists. It's sort of like, all right, well, let's see, like, how good are you to get past my defenses? Otherwise, if you're from New York, the bar is different because there's an expectation internally. But
Mm-hmm.
like, it's like humor and those music videos, you know, people like Spike Jones who made like music videos for him, like they broke you down. Like they make you sort
Right.
of like you drop your defenses because you're like, so it made sense that he transitioned into films. And what I really found interesting, again, not having been hugely familiar with the Fast and Furious films, again, having only seen this one that we watched for this episode, and I watched Hobbs and Shaw, which is completely separate from
Right.
all of these.
Mm-hmm.
That one's fun.
It's fun. But the one thing that I learned kind of with that was like he was making movies at the peak of his powers as an artist when he was
For sure.
topping charts, putting out #1 albums, you know,
Mm-hmm.
having Hot 100 singles repeatedly. You know, this is when he was acting. So like you think about his arc of a career is extraordinary. He did so much like between 2000 and 2010 that was
Mm-hmm.
just like he put out
Yeah.
all these albums, and like I think he hasn't put an album in nearly 10 years. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so he's sort of definitely moved away from the I need to be the person in front of the screen. No, he was you mentioned Outkast before, obviously, like artists go away, and then they come back when they choose to come back, how they want to come back. Ludacris sort of just moved into another arena,
completely,
like some of you, and said like, I'm going to stay in this arena. He'll drop a song, he'll be a feature on somebody's project, but like he's not like, doesn't seem to be particularly interested in like playing the album game right now. He's much more interested in being on screen.
No, how long has it been? 2015?
I think it was 2014 was the last album.
Was it the
we're
one?
Talking, we're almost at a decade. He's not rapping anymore. This is a full Queen Latifah transition.
Yeah, straight.
We're like, wait a minute. I guess she's just like not a rapper anymore in a way.
And one of his most recent movies is with Queen Latifah. It's like a Netflix film that came out during the pandemic.
I'm going to watch that when we're done. That sounds awesome. I love those two human beings.
End of the Road. I was reading about it. End of the Road.
Ludacris. Okay, first and foremost, this is like one of the only times I can dunk on New York City. From growing up in the South. It's very rare when we get to do this. But because that like devotion to our cities wasn't there, we could like anything. And I can't tell you how undeniably cool it was to be knowledgeable about New York rap because it's easy to get. And just turn on the radio at any time and bump shit like Ludacris.
Hell yeah.
And there's just no rules. Nobody's mad at you. You just get to listen to all of it and love it all. And
I can agree with that.
Ludacris was one of my first rap shows. The opener was Field Mob. Field Mob played for approximately 9 minutes.
Ooh, so what?
And we waited for a long time for Ludacris. And it was awesome. It was in Cameron Indoor Stadium where Duke plays. So it's this tiny, kind of small Coliseum-y venue. And it was very expensive. So the crowd was like predominantly white. And he came out. And the first thing he does, no announcement, no nothing, he just grabs the mic and he goes, "White people!" And we lose our minds. The place is wild, absolutely screaming at the top of their lungs. And he throws down a hard set.
Damn.
Like that's all fire. Of it, including like he tells a long story before Pussy Poppin', which like I didn't realize you really needed a long story to that song, but it was awesome. Ludacris is dope, and it was just so much fun, that guy. But nobody combined like fun and hard ass lyricism like quite like him.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree. I remember when he did the Austin Powers song, "Number One Spot." He sampled
the only dude in the free world that could make that clown beat into like the most fun song of the summer.
Yeah, who could do that? Who could do that?
What a talent, man.
Scheme, plot.
I mean, only him. Maybe Redman. Maybe.
Redman has very similar.
He could do whatever he wants to. He can get on any beat and be Redman.
They're all from the same cloth. Eminem. Eminem said that he's like basically like Andre, Reggie Noble, Big L. So he's from the same battle rap. Kind of like playing, when you rap, you don't say shit like you rap about much better than everybody you are, which is what we do. But then it's also like playing on the fact that like none of the things that you're saying really can happen, but I'm gonna make them sound like they can. Like pick the world up and smack the world with your right hand and shit like that. Like they, like literally, he comes from that same league of people. And I don't know Ludacris, but I'm sure if I asked him who his favorite MCs, I'm sure M and Redman would probably be on his list for sure.
Yeah, she's about right. And I would say, to borrow from another movie franchise, that Luda comes to the mic with a particular set of skills. And that's a little Easter egg out there for certain people. Nonetheless, I think it might be beneficial, as we're about to really dive into the discussion of this movie, that Jeff, you are the resident expert on all things Fast and Furious, because
indeed
Eric and I have both watched one movie, this one.
So he's watched 1.5. He slept through part of 10.
I slept through
fair.
10. Yeah.
Fair. And I watched the spin-off movie, so I guess it's 2 for me. Can you give us a little background?
Some credit here?
Thank you.
Yeah. What do you want to know about Fast and Furious 6?
I don't want to hear a lot. I don't want to hear a lot. What I would like to hear, though, is I want to understand the context of Ludacris's character in this, because
Sure.
when we meet him in this, it's like, okay, he is playing this particular role. He's the tech guy. He seems to have a very wide knowledge of cars. What's his deal?
First and foremost, base level, anyone we talk about in this film has a ridiculous knowledge of cars and is a crazy good mechanic.
Okay.
An insane builder mechanic. They can build anything. They can do, like, they are, for all intents and purposes, superheroes in that department. When we meet Ludacris, he's a young, hungry mechanic involved very deeply in the racing scene. He fixes a lot of those cars. He soups up a lot of those cars. And it's been a while since I've seen the one that he was at first. Anyway, he, I guess transitions is a word, like kind of like the way one day he was a mechanic, a young, hungry mechanic with like a great shop and like really good employees, to he's a computer expert. Now, it happens over time in the movies, but one day, much like with his rap career, you kind of turn around and go, oh, he just doesn't do that anymore. And a lot of the characters sort of start either from there or being a cop. They're either like master mechanics in the racing scene / racers, or they're a cop.
Okay.
Like The Rock
Ludacris comes from the criminal side, but was in a very real way a legitimate business owner. He just like didn't follow the rules of like building cars. He built fast cars.
Cool. That actually helped me a lot. I didn't know what the hell. And like we don't really know how that transition happens. It just sort of is there. And we're like, cool, he's the expert. Awesome. Okay. That's what he does. Next question.
No, I mean, that's the question. That no more questions for me about this movie. I just want to get a sense, because as we kind of go into his performance, as the focus is,
I guess everybody hurts. Shout out.
I think it's just, for those who haven't seen this film, it does take a pretty standard action movie trope. It goes, government agent recruits criminal or criminals to help catch even more dangerous criminal or criminals with the fate of the world at stake. That is,
if you're cool with that trope, then I got good news for the rest of the series. Great news, folks. It happens a lot. Like humans trusting the Transformers levels of a lot, where people who would never be friends or family, as it were,
family.
People who would never be family need to become family, because the thing that's coming is like nothing you've ever seen. Sometimes and it's an invention. Sometimes it's just a human being with no conscience. Likely it's a combination of the two, but they got to figure it out together because it's all crashing down for them.
I do have a question.
Yeah, go, please.
Why didn't I was so confused. They like, oh yeah, Michelle Rodriguez, she doesn't know. And then she shoots bro. And I'm like, I thought that was her man's. And it's just like, oh, she doesn't know. It's like, why didn't she know anything?
Her reappearance is because she's dead from 2 movies ago.
I don't understand though. Like,
she died in the series. She died like movies ago, plural movies ago. And
so she's a robot.
What we learned, the reason they tell that whole drawn out story is because this is like a new thing for the franchise. No one has come back from the dead. We've met new people. New people have attempted to destroy the family and then become part of the family or been killed, but no one in the family has died but her. And then she's like, I didn't die. I just don't remember anything. So that's the backstory on her, is that this person is coming back to life for them. And so when she doesn't understand why she sees Dom and something happens to her, she shoots him, but she shoots him in a non-critical area, just above the heart. No big deal. He's fine. But, in fact, he just needs one piece of gauze.
He's so he was on vacation with his new girl, and then he showed his new girl.
Yeah, she's been dead for years, and she was a cop. You'll be shocked to know that
Spoiler
she was
alert.
a cop.
Spoiler alert.
And
Okay.
and she's got a chance to take him down, and you can put A, B, and C together and figure out that she fell in love with him. That's that. Yeah. So he was in, his new girl and him were like getting hot and heavy, serious. They're like living together now.
Right.
Things are happening. Whereas we only knew they were hooking up before. This comes in hard on like, oh, they're together.
Oh, they're together.
Things are good. Things
he wasn't
are
upset.
good. He doesn't want it. This is one of the only films really, he doesn't want to go back to the life at all. There's no, I didn't get the treasure. There's no, it's not like an Indiana Jones thing. It's really, truly like, I got this bad Brazilian and I have no extradition immunity in one of the most beautiful places in the world. And I'm flat loaded from wild criminal activities. And her being alive really honestly seems like the only thing on earth that would bring him back to this criminal activity.
Which is why it happened.
Lo and behold, we got her back. That's love Letty. I stand Letty. I think Letty's awesome. I think Letty's fucking cool.
It's just a shame that the actor who has to play this part is Vin Diesel, who has no range that anyone can perceive. So
take it, just take it easy. Dom is their leader. He has to show a certain amount of gravitas, which is all the time, no matter what's going on, unless it's an attempted smile.
Speaking of gravitas. Speaking of gravitas, can we talk about your shirt that you're wearing at the moment?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So this is a wish.com.
Absolutely.
Fast and Furious 6. It's for the 6th movie specifically.
Yes.
At the time was my favorite in the franchise when I bought it. And I also have the chain. I have the Dom chain.
Oh, you have the Dom chain. Okay.
Wish.com, baby. $7. Well spent.
That's a
with shipping. It was $7.
Ooh, with shipping.
Yeah.
Man, I feel sorry for the small third world country child who had to make that shirt for you.
That you will never get
to see this movie.
That's the reason. That's the reason that we only bought one each of us.
Right.
We got to limit it to one.
Yeah. Each of us.
How many did you buy?
So you'll be shocked to know I'm part of several outside the movie families. We call ourselves families, who like watch these movies and talk about them all the time. We're like obsessed with these total submoronic movies. I just think that they're the greatest thing going, other than Mission Impossible.
Okay.
More.
Okay.
So I was with my original, my OG. We like during the pandemic would watch and talk about it incessantly. And like, it was just something to like talk about while we were trapped.
There's discourse.
And it really like, I was anti these. I was like, I'll never watch. This is so stupid. I hate cars. I hate cars. I like hate cars. I've been hit by them. I've been wrecked in them. I hate them so much. And I think these movies are glorious. I just think they're awesome.
Do you think the cast is what got you there? Do you think like it's like Tyrese and all these guys? You think that was like, oh, you know what the intrigue for this is because of the cast? Because then I could kind of see like, it's like the Expendables kind of.
So I have a very high tolerance for very bad if the thing that we're trying to do is still fun and pulled off.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I knew within like 10 minutes of the first one that I'm going to treat this more 10 minutes into the first one. So much like hard machismo has been thrown at you that these are truly special, wild, competitive human beings.
Gotcha.
And they're great at what they do, whatever it is. It's thrown at you hard. And I was like, oh, I'm going to treat this more like Naked Gun than I am like Predator.
Right.
I'm not watching this because
you're
it's brilliant.
It's not. Okay, I got you. Okay.
But they do some really weird, inventive stuff with like technology. It's not like they're that guy's got a weird algorithm. We got to chase it or he'll end the world. These things are like, oh, this person has access to all of the cameras in the world. and can see or find anyone at a moment's notice. That's a lot of power.
It was some of the worst timing for things to happen. It was like weird. It was like this guy can like jump. I think Vin Diesel's character like jumped and saved the Michelle Rodriguez or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just was like, that's not even a human jump, but like the movie doesn't have sci-fi. It's just weird. Like, okay, like if they have superpowers, then like you should be able to like they should turn and see like some green like robot thing in their eye at a moment, or like somebody has a robot arm, or like it's just regular people like cracking jokes, and then all of a sudden these like bionic powers come out.
So
Jeff.
Jeff. Like, it's so weird. It doesn't make
Jeff. No,
go ahead, Gary.
This was also my thing with this again. Coming into this. Now, I've forgotten about Hobbs and Shaw when I watched that movie. So I forgot that there's a real prominent sci-fi component of like Idris Elba is like a cyborg man. Jeff, don't talk yet. Now, I came into this one forgetting that and thinking falsely that this was a street racing movie. That was now also.
Oh, no. But street racing we've left far behind.
But it's in the past
now.
As it turns out, this is a comic book movie without comic books.
Okay. So here, first of all, that's awesome. I don't know why that sounds like it's a downside.
Jeff, do you like comic book movies?
That's awesome.
Do you like comic books?
No, but these aren't comic book movies. So here's the thing. And I want you to hear me out on this. I know what your theory is, and I believe it to be true. But over time, we like learn more and more about them. And they, in the movie, to their credit, question whether or not they are superheroes. And then they just kind of laugh it off.
Okay.
That's in 9. Okay. So like
it takes 9 movies
after
this thing happens. When you're in like 1, 2, and 3, they are just incredible drivers.
Okay.
And then the physical stuff starts coming in 4, 5, and 6.
And The Rock is a superhuman cop because he fucked that person up really bad. And it was just like, he trashed the whole room, but like the ceiling fixture was broken. I'm like, no human person can like throw someone like that. I know he's The Rock, but
it's like Batman.
I was like, why do you do that? Like,
my theory on this is very short, but basically all these people with these sort of, they're discovering over time their superpowers, and naturally they are gravitating toward each other because they're the only ones that can do this shit.
Okay.
The cops in these movies are like, there's maybe 1 or 2 total that make it out of the fray to be part of the superhero gang. Everyone else getting smashed, cars flipping, explosions. They're just getting run over by tanks. These are like the human life body count.
Tanks.
If you were to body count and put them in buckets, cops would be number 1 with a bullet. These things murder hundreds of cops at a time. It's a hilarious joke.
Okay. Fine. That's fine by me. I'm not really.
Okay. Yeah, totally. Look, it's part of the charm of the film is that like they continually have to prove like they're not superheroes per se, but they have defined powers and they don't question them. And they don't use them for good. That's for fucking sure.
Right. I got that too.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Is Bow Wow a superhero in his movie?
So,
or is he in the
not everybody graduated up from the street racing scene to become a superhero.
So he's in the racing division.
The
he's
people
in Tokyo.
You're seeing
Tokyo Drift, right? So yes, okay.
Tokyo Drift is weird. Tokyo Drift actually happens after this movie. The last scene that's during I don't want this to just be an explanation podcast. I'm sorry.
Really? You don't? You don't.
I truly love this movie so much.
I think you want this to be an explanation podcast so badly.
It kind of is. 3, and maybe I do. 3 is actually after 6. The scene you see in the credits is a rehashed scene. We already knew that Han was dead. This is Han's past that we're watching. 4, 5, 6. Then 3, which already aired. And then from there, it's straight. 3 is my least favorite film to watch, but it's the most important film in the series.
Do you think the director that made this, he knew that he wanted to make this many of them? Or do you think he was like, fuck it, let's do another one?
I think 3 was almost unrelated. Like it was in the universe, but there was only 1 minute, maybe even less than a minute of a single person from any other movie that's been shown, basically.
Yeah,
wow.
it was
it's very loosely, we're meeting Han, and then we're learning about the adventures that him and Han went on together. This is Vin Diesel I'm talking about, obviously. He's in it for like 30 seconds, and they like meet up and talk, and then it's like they allude to a past. 4, 5, and 6 of that past.
Okay.
I could never watch any movie where Vin Diesel talks as much as he does in these movies.
Well, he talks less and less. If that's a just kind of stands around a lot of these.
Yeah, he's just like a guy in a shirt to me with a bald head.
Yeah. I watched it with my wife. I watched the movie with my wife, who also had not seen any of these films.
I can only imagine that she was mortified and like never again.
Within minutes of the film, she's like,
it's a 2-hour movie.
I can't look at Vin Diesel. He's like a talking thumb. And I don't disagree with her in that he's just like,
no, I don't either.
And if he was an actor, like, say what you will about, like, I think like they really try to shoehorn that we're supposed to care about the relationship between Vin Diesel and The Rock.
Yeah.
But like, it's not a fair fight in terms of dialogue.
Well,
you're pitted.
You're missing some lore there, but I
know, yes, but they're pitted against each other. They're meant to be like, oh, they should be going back and forth talking to each other. And it's like, no, Vin Diesel should say nothing, and The Rock should provide exposition.
Rock should just run, just run.
Oxford exposition and punching, and that's great. That's what we want.
The explanation is that Vin Diesel knows that these people at some point will become family if he just holds out long enough.
Well,
and he's not wrong.
It's baffling to me.
The Rock is family. The Rock was there for him when he needed him.
No,
and Vin Diesel knew he was going to be there. They have this like little tete-a-tete after the scene that I think Gary texted me and was like, really was mad at this movie at this point. Where Vin Diesel meets up with the first of the two Shaws that we meet in this series.
Owen Shaw. Or Luke Evans, right?
He meets up with Owen Shaw. And they have their like super bro weird, like, I'm better than you, I'm better than you, I'm better than you. And then The Rock, it turns out that one of his main dudes and The Rock are like aiming rifles at the main bros.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, we got to walk away from this, but we'll meet again or whatever. And then Rock comes down and Vin Diesel's like, The Rock comes down and Vin Diesel's like, or The Rock says, how did you, like, what if I hadn't been there? And he was like, I knew you'd be there.
And he shows him the tracker. Shows him the tracker from his car.
Yeah.
Right.
I had a big problem with that scene because we are led to believe, and Eric, you can tell me if you think differently, but we were led to believe that the bad guy in this film, Owen Shaw, is supposed to be this dangerous criminal mastermind who is a threat to the world, to the fate of the world. He is the most dangerous person, so much so that Hobbs has to recruit this gang of criminals to help with who have a very particular set of skills.
Who, shocker alert, you can't fully trust in a way.
And you bring them on to do that. And suddenly we're in a position where this guy who they've been trying to find and catch for all this time is literally is in your sights. A red dot
I didn't understand
on
that
him.
I didn't get it.
And he does not take the shot.
That was so weird. I didn't understand. He was right there.
But they knew that there was somebody like watching. They've been through this before. All of them have had this meeting and like, look, there's guns everywhere.
No.
The understanding here is that unless I order, don't fire. Because they're the leaders. If you kill the head, the body will die. Without them, we're led to believe these things wouldn't happen. Which, yes, in theory, is probably a really good idea.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the movie, we got to keep it rolling.
But I
feel like the ending just never, it's like something happens and it's like, oh, it's the ending. And then I'm looking, it's like, there's an hour left. I'm like, but just the ending just happened. And then I'm like, oh, this has to be the ending now. And it's like, there's 40 minutes left. I'm like, yo, what the fuck?
Doug, the last like 15 minutes is so completely insane.
bursting through the plane.
You know how insane the last 15 minutes of the plane scene is? You probably forgot that during all of the fracas, the crooked cop and Letty fight for a second time. Yeah. And this time they've both switched sides.
Yeah, they did.
Yes.
So they fought as enemies and then fought as the different side enemies in this movie. And it was almost forgotten because you have 3 cars, small sports cars, holding a cargo plane on the ground because they're such good drivers.
I've never heard anything so ridiculous. This movie is
it's excellent. It's so good.
It's so crazy.
Eric is spot on because I too was like, how are they still dragging this out? How is this still happening? Because the madness to me is like when that scene where they could have killed him, I guess that was like an hour and 15 in. And back in the day, an action film could be like 95, 100 minutes. And everybody would be like,
they were cranking them out.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
And now it's like a few scenes later, they actually have Shaw in captivity and they have to let him go because of threats. And then The Rock chastises Vin Diesel and crew for letting this guy go when The Rock, 30 some odd minutes prior, had a literal gun on the guy and could have ended him. So I'm like, this is just like, that's just bad writing. Like, regardless of lore, regardless of that's bad writing in the classic action movie sense. In the bad action movie
though,
sense.
that this is like, name a 6th movie in a franchise that was more fun than this one.
Leprechaun.
Which one was that?
Which one was that? No, that was
Space?
Back to the Hood.
No, not as good as this. No, absolutely. The second Hood one?
This movie didn't. This movie didn't have
one.
a member of Onyx in it. They didn't have a member of Onyx in that.
They had a fake Coolio in that movie. Get out of here.
No, fake Coolio is in the one before that.
No, it was in Back to the Hood, I thought.
No, it's in Leprechaun. No, it's in the one before that. Fake Coolio is in the one with Ice-T.
Okay.
So there we go. So yeah, the better six movie, definitely is. But I think that the point is like, it's absurd. Tanks bursting out of convoys. Vin Diesel.
Dude, that was so sick. Come on.
Diesel
you did not expect that and it threw you. You know you got thrown, being like, God damn, did a tank just bust out of that motherfucker?
Lips.
Yes, it did.
How is everybody living through? I don't understand. Then Paul Walker? Was it Paul Walker? The car flipped upside down. He was just like looking at it. I was like, you would be dead. Like, I don't understand. Like,
these, like, how do they just not have neck pain? How do they just not have neck pain? I have neck pain and I don't do shit.
They're superhuman
all the time.
But I agree that they are superhuman. It's not explained why. It isn't.
So all of them Tyrese, The Rock, Michelle Rodriguez, all of these guys are superhuman car people, or law enforcement adjacent. That is not what I think. Even seeing the one that I saw, the 10 or whatever, when I fell asleep, I didn't even know that then. Like, I still couldn't, like, it just seems ridiculous. Like, it seems like, oh, this scene needs something crazy to happen, so let's push the button for crazy. And then something crazy happens. And I'm like, I didn't even know that these people had the ability to do this.
There's 2 times a film where something happens that you're like, how can he do that?
Yeah.
How could they do that? There's
in this movie.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
I can say like 3 times. I'm like, that's not possible. I started
the perfectly timed jump where he saves Letty's life by like smashing into a car at 1 billion miles an hour when he's jumping straight up out of a window.
Just like Crank, right? Like Crank is like, but I kind of get it though. Jason Statham, you already know he's an operative kind of like superhuman person. So Crank, but he's also on drugs. So it's like, the drugs is making him PCP level confident and strong.
They slowly but surely, and this is like 6, so they've had to do this a lot. They slowly but surely up the ante on like shit. These guys, they don't try these things. It's a necessity. It's like Brian says in it. He says, we're going to do what we do best, improvise. Like Like that's when they get into their go mode. That's when they're like, okay, cool, the shit has gone awry. Everything we did, we got to where we need to go. Now we just need to get in there, take the thing from the fucking crazy guy, and bail. And then we're good.
I have another question.
And that gets increasingly insane.
What the fuck when which was a horrible acting job on Vin Diesel and The Rock. When they were talking at the end of the movie and he's like, how much do you want for the he was like, that's pretty expensive. And he's like, it is. And then he asked what the price was and he just says like, was it the fucking
it's the address to his childhood home.
1738.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like
it's not 1738.
I was like, does he want Fetty Wap? He wants Fetty Wap.
Yeah, I was like, is Fetty Wap gonna be in 7 or
it's like 2385 or something. It's the address to his childhood home. He's asking for freedom because they have wild amounts of charges on him. Yeah, so it's like just let us free and leave us alone, and we'll go hang out in my backyard and cook out, which is how everything ends all the time. He's just like,
that's
if
how
you leave us alone, we're a peaceful bunch.
Why? But so isn't that bad writing? Because it's bad writing because it's almost like no one would know that. Like good writing is like, and there's an Easter egg for people who watch 5 movies. But for someone that's never seen it, the conclusion of a movie shouldn't end with total confusion. I was so lost in what the fuck that meant. I just thought it meant like,
I mean, they show a shot with the mailbox and it has the numbers on it.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
But as they pan, but like it's small. I get it. No, you're not wrong. It's not really.
He's not wrong.
For the end of the movie, it should be a little bit more like tactful. Like,
they write these to watch like it's a soap opera. So you kind of need to know these characters a little bit.
It's definitely a soap opera.
You know what I'm saying? So like,
Power.
You know, Gary and I have had debates on whether or not we wanted to watch these. Mostly Gary has said, no, I never want to watch one of these. And I've said,
so happy
you really should. They're a lot of fun.
Explain this.
But you got to watch them in order. He has refused. I'm actually like, it's kind of sad that you guys watched 6.
No.
And like out of order. It was like watching them out of order. It truly isn't fun like that.
There's no way I'm going to watch another one, I think. I think I'm done. But 10 being the first one, I guess, that I saw, it seemed just as ridiculous. So it's not like, and I like bad movies. I like movies.
Yeah. If you're ever laying around and the cable is available and you'd see the Fast and the Furious come on, just don't say no is all I'm saying. Have an open heart and an open mind.
It has to be good bad or bad.
There we go. Like, see, I'm saying as another connoisseur of bad movies, I think you're absolutely right. It is a good bad movie or something that is just like so bad
all the way. Yeah. Like Bloodsport 4 is one of the worst movies I've seen in my whole life. And there's a scene that
you could watch it independent of the other blood sports, though. It's not like dependent on the other blood.
You don't need it.
Like this
is nothing to do with it at all. It's just a random. Jean-Claude is not even in the movie anymore. Some other dude. But there's a part when this guy, he's fighting at the end of the movie, and he's screaming at the guy in like the dome, and one of like the fucking like rich people has like a pen in his jacket. It's like suit jacket and it's sticking out. And like, this is it's so stupid and so bad, but it's so funny to me. And it's like, he leans over to like say something, you're gonna die, some really bad line like that. And then the fake Jean-Claude guy sees it and he grabs the pen and he sticks it in the guy's ear. And it's a click pen, right? So the blood is squirting out of the click part, right? And the guy stands up and he's like, and the blood is squirting.
This movie is so much better than that.
He kicks the
He's
pen.
selling me.
One?
But look, and then he kicks the pen into his brain. Before he says, I seem to misplace my pen. He said that. And then he kicks the pen into his brain and then he dies and he wins.
Amazing.
But like that is, it's a good conclusion.
I don't know about amazing.
It's a good conclusion because the movie sucks. But the ending had a payoff that was like, oh, okay, this is worth sitting watching this movie for an hour and a half because like I get it. Like the end of this movie, I was so confused. Like I didn't know about Michelle Rodriguez that she was a robot. I thought she was a robot like the whole time. Like maybe cybernetic, like they're gonna hack her. I thought so
That's
many things.
not
And he's like,
entirely
oh, she doesn't
like,
remember anything. And they said like, oh, don't worry about it. She doesn't remember anything. I was like, but she's standing right there. Like, why did she defend her?
I mean, listen,
So
amnesia is, I think we have to be kind to the amnesia here.
No.
You know?
But is it a real amnesia?
It's a classic,
Like,
it's a classic soap opera trope.
That they wanted to just put her in the movie again. That's kind of what it seemed like. Like, oh,
Oh,
she needed
absolutely.
to do something
that
summer.
No.
And she did the movie.
What you're describing as paper thin and stupid is like some of my favorite shit in the movie. You know what I mean? All of this is true. It's total ridiculous. Like, what a waste of time. It's also like the greatest thing ever.
My favorite thing in the movie is every scene where Tyrese and Luda interact with each other.
Oh my God.
Every single
constant.
time.
It's
really bad lines on both of their paths too.
But it's like
talking about his forehead and how his head is big.
It's the comic relief that we need in that moment. I need to see these two people just like go back at each other, back and forth.
And it's somewhat they're winging it. I remember I saw an interview with, I think it was Luda. It was just something that came across my Insta feed. And basically he was like, oh, when The Rock walks in and he's like, better shut that big ass forehead, like right at the end, it makes fun of Tyrese.
Yeah.
That was, there was another line there. He just made fun of Tyrese.
He just made that up.
And he was like, now watch me. And Ludacris like melts laughing after.
Like a spit take. It's like a spit take.
He was like, oh God. He got and then Tyrese, being who he is, he's like, need all that, man.
Well, it's seen, if I remember correctly, it seems like they shot Tyrese's response from another angle where he says like he's like, it's not that big. Like that's
not that big.
It's so good. They're so
like,
fun together.
He's like, do you smell baby oil? He's like, why do I smell baby oil?
In 9, they drive to space. Just so you know.
Just so
you know, they go to space. Your baby boys go to space. And it's because you're not gonna watch it. Fuck it, I'm just gonna spoil it. Is that
foreshadowing?
They go to space in a hoopty.
So is that foreshadowing then when Tyrese says at one point where he says that's not a plane, that's a planet? Are we leading into?
I noticed that too.
It's like, which is the kind of line like as a writer.
Maybe you should watch. It's pretty sick.
As a writer, I could see that working really good on the page because you're just adding another letter to plane to say planet, but you don't pronounce those words the same way.
Like Lost, the TV show Lost.
Yeah.
These movies don't intend really to pick up fans. They intend to continue to entertain the cult members.
But they make more money each time. Like they're like this.
Yeah, we keep paying more. Like the prices have gone up. It's been like 100 years of these movies at this point.
It's an inflation situation. Okay.
They started at the beginning of time.
Thanks, President Biden. It's your fault. It's your fault. But
you're the reason why there's 10 of these shit.
Genocide Joe.
Seriously. It's just wild because like there's so many different like the interactions between Tyrese and Luda are just like they're corny, they're dumb jokes, but they're the comic relief that I need in a movie like this
to keep it going.
I've seen I've seen movies way worse than this, action movies that try to do the comic relief thing, and it's embarrassingly bad. Like I've watched multiple movies that star Dennis Rodman, and
you have. Have I actually.
And I've seen films where they make him play the straight guy. They make him play
my life.
Like he's not that you're doing this show. He's playing like the comedians are around him making jokes, and he's supposed to be like we gotta stop this criminal.
Yeah.
And it's like no, everyone else around him is just it's like Dane Cook. Like everyone is just goofing off. And so like I appreciate this in that kind of movie that if we're gonna do a trope to just be this premise of this film, and we're gonna do the kind of bad dialogue and hilarious like camera angles, like towards the end at the barbecue when like The Rock is looking one way and like behind him off to the side or something. Sure I get this right.
So good. They can't be in the same vicinity.
They are speaking to each other, but they cannot look at each other in the face in this moment.
There's conflicting beliefs on the reality of what happens here, but in real life, The Rock goes basically, in the heyday of Twitter was like, I'm like, fuck Vin Diesel. I don't want to work with him. Or maybe it was in an interview or something, or it got posted to Twitter or something. In any event, he was like, never again. This a lazy, terrible actor. Like he doesn't put the work in. Whatever.
He's not a good actor.
No.
He's really bad to me. I think he's probably one of the
Fair.
most successful worst actors I've ever
Yeah.
watched.
Yep.
He was bad in that other movie that people say is amazing too, which is ridiculous to me.
I don't like a single other Vin Diesel movie.
With the shades and shit. The
Chronicles
video
of
game
Riddick.
was great.
Chronicles
The
Chronicles
game
of
was
Riddick.
fire. The game was sick, but that was not a good movie to
I
me.
don't think I watched that.
No, I think Vin Diesel is great in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie where he plays a tree who says one sentence.
Never seen those.
He says, "I am
I've
Groot."
never seen those either.
He says, "I am Groot," and that's
do it.
all
His
he
voice.
says. That's all he
Yeah.
says. It's just his voice. He goes, "I am Groot," and that's it. I'm like, that's the best Vin Diesel performance you're gonna get.
Perfect.
I don't care whatever line you give him. That's the best you're gonna get out of this guy.
What about Triple
it's
X?
I mean, Triple X, is he the best Triple X? Hard to say. Cube, it's
Let me
like him
say
or
this.
Cube, right?
Ice Cube
Like-
killed it.
Let me say
Cube.
this. Triple X, the third one, which is the Cube one, is the best of the series.
Mm.
I think.
Yeah,
I have not seen all of them, but I can say that anyone where it's Cube and not Vin Diesel has to be the best.
Yeah,
Like,
I think it's the best.
Ice Cube could do Triple X, but Vin Diesel could not do Janky Promoters. That's how bad Vin Diesel is.
But I don't know that like
Vin
Ice
Diesel
Cube
is.
could do Fast and Furious. It really.
Yeah, he could do Fast and Furious tomorrow. He could do it tomorrow.
I don't
It
think
wouldn't
so.
be the
You
same
got
character.
it's all gravitas, baby.
Mm.
We have to. It has to be terrible. You can't real. There have been some people that come in and do real acting and stuff,
Yeah.
and they like stand out and they have to go.
Yeah.
It has to all be like stern, serious, unless they're like cracking wise. They're like
Yeah.
off the clock.
Yeah. It's a shame that we didn't watch the seventh one, because if you get to the end of this and they show the introduction of
I will watch the seventh
Jason,
one with you anytime.
not interested. But it's a shame that we didn't do that because Jason
You're
Statham
deep.
shows up, and Jason Statham
Yeah.
is the action
He's
guy.
so dope.
I will
in it,
watch him
too.
do any movie. You mentioned
Then we
Crank
gotta
before.
do it.
He's
We gotta
great.
watch 7 then. You're
No,
gonna
I'll
watch.
watch. I'll go watch The Beekeeper. I'll go to the movie theater right
Yeah.
now and catch the 11:30 show in The
I already
Beekeeper or something.
Yeah.
well, first and foremost, the only thing I can really tell you since you haven't seen the film is
Mm.
that the beekeeper protects the hive.
Thank you. Good to know.
Great.
That's all you need
Great.
to know.
That's it.
There's all I can tell you. I'm not allowed to tell you anything else.
He's Hitman. He's gonna be
so good. In
He's
every
gonna be
single
doing
I
those
love that
movies.
guy.
So he's great, man, for real.
He is great. He's doing it well. He's
yeah,
great. I think.
yeah, he's great. He's great.
He just
for
like
sure.
shaves
He just
everything off
bald.
so you can't tell.
All right. So, Eric, before we let you go,
Hmm.
now that you have seen 1.5 of these movies, I guess is the way to say it, and you've been
Yeah.
introduced to enough of these characters. I mentioned that the other one that I saw was Hobbs and Shaw, the spin-off with Jason Statham and The Rock. Having seen 1.5 of these movies, who would you spin off into their own film? Who do you think is worth actually giving their own film to, either as a single or as a duo? I'd be curious to know your perspective.
I would go Luda and Tyrese.
Hmm.
I feel like
so they get
they're
like a
both-
little buddy cop kind of thing going.
Yeah, buddy cop. They both, I feel like in their personal life, it would make sense because it's like they both don't really make music and acting is their thing, and they're musicians that went into acting. I think people would like that, and I think they already have the rapport. So it'd be interesting. I'd rather watch that than a Vin Diesel movie again. So I'd pick that. I'm just curious to see what that storyline would be. He's a hacker. I don't really know what Tyrese does. I didn't get his character. He was just like comic relief. I didn't know what his special power was, but Ludacris.
I don't know that
Super
he.
smart.
I think that like how the Transformers always have like a human around.
Yeah, so Tyrese is just a regular person.
Yeah, like he's a great driver and a good mechanic. But I don't think that he like doesn't really display a superpower. You know what I
He's just
mean?
Tyrese.
Like he never really grew out of the great
Wow.
driver part.
Wow.
When we
Wow.
meet him, he's like
Wow.
in jail a lot.
Yeah.
And
I feel like
has
his character is the
was
same
arrested
character
by Paul
from
Walker.
Four Brothers. It's
Yeah.
like Tyrese from Four Brothers is in
Yeah.
Fast and the Furious. This is the same character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't
Yeah,
be
I'd
the
watch
first
it.
time. Wouldn't be the first time they pull somebody out of another thing and put him in this. Like Justin Lin, who directed this movie, his first like breakout feature was a film that MTV distributed in like 2003 called Better Luck Tomorrow. I saw it in the theater. It's sort of about like these Asian kids who sort of just get into sort of criminal activity. And Han, Sung Kang's character, originates in that movie that has nothing to do with these films. But basically, when Justin Lin started doing these films, he brought his character over. So it wouldn't be the first one that this has actually happened. You could conceivably take somebody from some other place and bring it into.
No, it's true.
Just bring them into. Oh wow, yeah.
Justin Lin's cool, man.
Which is why I think that you could do a spin-off of these with Ice Cube. I think you could bring Cube in.
Why not?
Just make it. Why not? Anything's possible.
Why not?
Yeah.
Now you're starting to get the spirit of this thing. Yeah, why not? Oh, he can like
that's how they make these movies.
He can like rocket out of a car falling off of a bridge and like save someone and then smash into the windshield of a car and be like, I love you.
Fine. Yeah.
Look, I even got a name for it. It's Are We Furious Yet?
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. See, we could
That's 11.
bridge words. See?
Do I get to answer this?
No, we're so close. We're so close, Jeff.
Do I get to answer?
Yes. Tell us what your thoughts are. What would be your spin-off choice?
A straight up spin-off of Letty kicking people's asses. She's awesome. We stand Letty.
I mean, I've seen her in other stuff that I enjoyed too.
I loved her in Girl Fight.
Oh yeah, God.
Yeah,
that's a great call out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that these films, having seen Hobbs and Shaw and this, I will say that I enjoyed Hobbs and Shaw more. It also had two actors who I love to see in movies, Jason Statham and Idris Elba. So you put those guys on screen together. I'm in. I don't care what it is. I'm in.
Statham's coming back for the next one. So
all I'm saying,
see you at the theater, bro. I'll be wearing this shirt. I'll be wearing this shirt and this chain and a big smile on my face.
Sorry. I'm going to be washing my hair that night.
Yeah, you're washing your hair?
Yeah.
The chain, too, is the real accessory. It's like, that's really about it.
I mean, once we got the shirt, it was like, well, we got it. I mean, they're just there, like $1. Just add
Is that
$1
your only Fast and the Furious shirt or just your favorite one?
It's my only one. I try not to go too overboard on these things, you know. Yeah, I just ordered some like crap from China about it. Nothing crazy. Yes. Okay. But I do try to make it to opening night of these things. At least opening weekend. I like to go with the family. One of them, I actually went down to North Carolina after seeing it once and went and saw it again with a friend of mine because he was also OG family, but he had moved. So I went and found my family and we familyed up and we watched the film. And I wore this shirt and the chain and I got him a chain and it was like truly one of the best days of his life. He has like 100 kids, so he never leaves the house. And they were like, "Oh, you got to go see the new Fast and Furious. Jeff's in town." We went. It's great.
And you went to go. You're a good friend too. So on top of that, you got.
Well, I think that was 8. Boy, what a time!
It sounds like the saddest chaining day ever.
two times in one day is crazy.
No, not 2 times in one day. No. They were like 3 days apart.
Oh, 3 days. Okay.
3 days. Okay. Well.
Time to absorb it and get it in your system.
Yeah, like I went there and saw it first and then came back and watched it here in New York with the other family.
My goodness.
I love I listen.
You love Fast and the Furious, bro. I respect it.
Familia for life.
Yeah, you love Fast and the Furious, bro. I'm never gonna forget this. Really, like, yo, I met this guy. He really loves Fast and the Furious. Like, you really do, bro. I never met nobody. I know people that like the movie and they know it's shit, but you have a special je ne sais quoi about you, like, because but it's also like it's not supposed to be better than it is. So you just accept it for what it is. I respect that.
Well, I think I super appreciate that because, man, some of it is obviously an act. I'm not like only watching these movies and, I watch them.
Well,
but every time they're on cable and we're flipping around, I'm like,
you got to leave it on there. Yeah.
On, and I'll like cook or something and I'll look over and somebody's like, "This is about family." And I'm like, it is about family. Thank you.
Wow.
It's like comfort food at this point. You've come with me on a lot of life's journeys, Gary, and I'm truly not upset if this isn't one of them. I forgive you for your wrong-headed assumptions and for being correct in some ways as well. I forgive you.
I guess what you're saying is you're okay with the fact that I'm not going to go back and watch the previous 5 films and then
what I want you to do, and this is all I can ask, is that you never say never. That maybe one day we could just be sitting there and be like, you know what, toss one on. I don't want to think about nothing. I just want to see the boys come back to town. I just want the boys being in town again, back.
Now, if it's Grandma's Boys, then yeah, I'm definitely interested in that.
No, totally. We've still never watched that together. I would totally watch that with you.
No, it's a masterpiece. Yeah,
no pressure. I think that you would very much enjoy it if you started from the beginning, if you started from the start.
I feel like
that. But if you don't want to, there's no reason for me to scream at you about it.
It's not going to happen, I don't suspect. But like, I do want to give
just never
some grace.
Never.
I want to give some grace here because, like,
that movie was fun. Come on.
It's like there are things that I thought were absurd, and we definitely talked about it.
Of course.
But like,
it's absurd. It's as general rule. It's the 6th one. It's fucking absurd. It's over the top. It's impossible.
Sure.
I just love it. I love that they're superheroes, but they're not defined as such. I love that the writing has to depend on itself and not on like source material. I love that it continues to grow in its weird legend as it goes along. Because, like, to be honest with you, I don't want the looky-loos coming in for number 10. I like that it was like a group of people that know this film that went there opening weekend.
This
like,
is
we're a family, Gary.
No, this is an international blockbuster. You guys are not a cult. This is an international blockbuster. Lots of people have seen this. You are consuming pop culture of the poppiest culturist moment.
Family.
This isn't convincing me.
Family.
It's the Cabbages Podcast Network.